Hello, everybody, Defcamp, and
Melderon.
welcome to episode 7 of Classic WoW Discussion. This is the Q&A special, baby. You like that, Melderon?
I do.
So we asked you guys in a couple of our videos to send in some questions via comments, via Discord, and we got some really good questions. But first of all, I have a very important message to say to you guys. And that is, thank you very much. We hit 1,000 subscribers recently, and it is all because of you guys. I am just so grateful to be a part of this community. We have built, I think, the greatest Classic WoW community, and it is all because of you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, guys, thanks a lot. It's a dream come true. Hitting 1,000 subs is a milestone that we really have been really looking forward to, and it's just amazing. Never thought I'd see that. When I look at my page and see that 1K sub marker, our page. It's pretty amazing.
It's really awesome, and we really built a pretty good community. Even within the guild that we have on Lights Hope. If you guys want to join us, we'll have links and everything. But guys, this one's for you guys. So this is the Q&A episode of the discussion series that we have about Classic WoW, and so we asked you guys to send in some questions. We got some really great questions. And how about we just jump into it and read off the first one. You ready, Melderon?
I'm ready, sir.
All right. So our first question comes from one of our biggest fans, Necro George. And he asked, how do you think the launch day for Classic WoW will look like? Do you think Blizzard will underestimate how many players will try to log in at launch? And who knows, maybe it will be a good launch experience with no crashes. In my dreams, in quotations. What do you think about that?
So I think we've kind of covered this before, but I think Classic WoW is going to be a much bigger success than anyone thinks it's going to be. And I think Blizzard will not underestimate it, because I think what they're going to do is implement something that I think may be a little controversial, but bear with me for a second while I explain what I would do if I was Blizzard. If I was Blizzard, I would launch with way more servers than I think I may need. And let me explain why. There's going to be a huge influx of players at first. Huge. Numbers that Blizzard has probably never seen before. Within a month, I guarantee those numbers will drop by at least half. Okay? Because a lot of people coming in who've never played the game or are coming from retail are not going to like it and not going to like the experience. I'm not saying they won't be healthy servers at that point, but I think the numbers will be lower. So what I think Blizzard will do, and this is only a month of time, so most players will probably not hit 60, and server communities are still building. What I think they should do is then rephase certain servers into combining servers to reach that perfect pop cap of 2,500 to 5,000. That's personally how I would do it. This way, the community still has a chance. So you're still growing with the same community, but now you're adding a few more people. Maybe a little more than a few, but you still have your core community that you leveled with. And I think that's important, that the community aspect stays the way it does. The way server technology is built now, you can, as far as I know, as far as my experiences is, you can meld them probably pretty easily. What do you think?
Right. So I do tend to agree that we will see a decline with players after a few months, but I honestly think it's going to be less than 50%. I think we're going to have a lot of people. I think launch is going to be crazy. I think Blizzard's going to be ready for the launch. I think they're going to have, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. We were talking about different servers and, what happens to servers over time, that kind of thing. If servers will merge, if they merge, say, a low pop server with a high pop server, two low pop servers to create, a pretty good population server. So if they have more servers, that's okay, because, they could always merge two small servers into one. Server. But, when it comes to, a lot of people saying, a whole bunch of people are going to try it and then a bunch of people will leave. I think, of course, some people who didn't know what to expect might say, okay, this isn't the game for me. But I really do think that Classic WoW will succeed to the point that it may see more subs than retail. I think it will eventually. I think eventually Classic WoW will become the prominent version of WoW, whether that is later when they offer more expansions, or it might even happen during BFA. Maybe there's a small decline in BFA and like a lull, and then things start to pop off on the classic realms. But I definitely think that people underestimate the amount of people that are hopefully not Blizzard. Hopefully Blizzard is ready for it. But you know what? I mean, let's look at the size of the team they have right now. Right now they have apparently, what they said, this is the possible leak, 4 to 5 people work on the team, whatever. I think I'm hoping, the sooner we get towards the release of Classic, they'll have more people working on the team, because I think
they will.
They're gonna need it. Yeah. So, I'm hoping that Blizzard is underestimating. I think they know the amount of people that will be interested in it, but I think it's going to be a pleasant surprise to everyone when they see how many people will stay. Because I think, of course, there are going to be people leaving, there will be people dwindling off, but I think in the long run, Classic will be very healthy, and it may be have the highest population out of any other version of Warcraft.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're going to have numbers, unprecedented numbers they've never seen before. And I think that server technology now is so much more advanced than what it was in 04. I think crashes are a thing of the past, personally. I could be wrong, but that's my personal opinion on it. I think that Blizzard has become very good at keeping servers up. I mean, there was just a huge issue on the EU servers a little while ago. This Romanian hacker shut down a bunch of servers. But
yeah, it still happens.
Yeah,
right.
it does happen. And I think unfortunately, this launch is going to get the attention of a lot of hackers, and I think Blizzard will have their hands full with that too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because
I'm really interested. I'm interested to see, because we've seen with a lot of private servers, a lot of the issues that they have actually comes from, believe it or not, the gold sellers, the gold farmers. They have held servers at ransom before, so we most likely won't be seeing that with Blizzard. So a lot of the things that people are used to, whether it was from vanilla back in the day or playing on a private server, that's one of the best things about having Blizzard run the classic servers is that it's going to be very stable.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I wish Blizzard had like a police force. You ever see those shows?
They do.
Well, no, I mean
they're called GMs.
No, I mean in real life. So how they have these when they do drug busts, the DEA breaks down people's doors and then you know what I mean? What if Blizzard had this thing where they went to certain places and uses battering rams to break people's doors down? You're hacking or you're gold selling, get down
they
the floor.
They probably would have arrested us for playing.
That's true. That's true. Good point.
Get your hands down! You're playing on a private server. I'm sorry. I couldn't wait for Classic.
Guy walks in with a foam sword.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I think to close up that question, I definitely think they will. I hope. Let's say I hope, and I do see them being prepared. I think they are realizing the weight that Classic holds on people, the amount of people. You just look at the Q&A for BFA, and it wasn't just, but there was a huge amount of people in there just asking for any updates on Classic, that kind of thing, and that represents just a small portion of the population. Not to mention players that are going to be who aren't so vocal about wanting to play Classic. They might be people who played it back in the day and are saying, when Classic comes out, I'm going to create a character, this and that. And then the people also who play on retail who might like what they find. And, I think that there is going to be a huge amount of people at the start. And, we'll see. There's actually a private server opening soon on Light's Hope. The new Lightbringer server is going to be open in June. And they're estimating around 10,000 people just for that one server. So maybe we'll see something, what it's going to look like.
It's going to be crazy, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Question number 2 comes from Bwestly from YouTube. His question is, I know you blanks, you can fill that in with your imagination, are very much no changes. But what is your opinion on Blizzard doing events in Classic? I don't mean the holiday stuff or Dark Moon Fair, but say they did a weekend where they disabled dishonorable kills to push players towards city raids, etc. Or even events where world bosses would attack in major cities. I think they did this in beta, but can't remember if they did it on official servers.
Okay, this is an interesting question. I personally, I mean, when we first did that Vanilla WoW survey, I have to admit I didn't understand the implications of removing dishonorable kills from the game, and I have a much better understanding of that now. I think dishonorable kills are very. It's a double-edged sword. Okay, so you can guarantee that players won't be killing quest givers and flight masters, which makes the game easier for low-level characters.
They can't guarantee it.
No. So it partially it reduces the amount of ganking or killing of NPCs that are required for low-level characters. And that's why Blizzard did it, because low-level characters wanted to have a good experience, and I get that. However, it totally killed a lot of world PvP. So, I personally don't have a problem with this. It is a change, per se. It's not a huge change. I think it's something that was in the game at some point. Dishonorable kills there was no such thing as dishonorable kills in early parts of vanilla. So I think it's in that way. I think introducing more world PvP is definitely a good thing. There are some implications, but I think it's a very interesting question. Secondly, when it comes to city raids of world bosses attacking, again, I think it's very interesting and very cool. Maybe this is off the top of my head, Matt Defcamp. So you tell me what you think about this, but. What about some kind of phasing technology? So where the world boss wouldn't kill low-level players? I don't know. That's just my personal thought. I don't think it's a great idea because I think it could lead to a lot of crap down the road as far as changes are concerned. But that's the only way I could think about doing it so that you won't be killing level 1s right off the bat as soon as they start playing the game.
Right. Well, okay. Yeah. Let me tell you what I think about this. Okay, so dishonorable kills are definitely something that I personally do not like. But they are part of vanilla. They're having a holiday event where maybe they turn that off. That would definitely be something that Blizzard would have to do. Even with the world bosses attack major cities. But what I would like to see is maybe the community try to create their own kind of events. You know what I mean? Maybe every month or so. On this server, the guilds get together and have an epic battle.
That's a great idea.
I think that would be.
But it should be promoted by Blizzard, in my opinion.
You think so?
They should be like, hey guys, how about we get some stuff going on? How about we try to maybe instigate that kind of a fight?
See, I don't think so. I think it would be better if each server created their own. They had. You have the option to do these kind of things. We even see it, in private servers sometimes. We had this huge battle that's supposed to be happening on Light's Hope. And I think each server with all the different guilds, can get together on the forums and say, hey, guys, we want to have an event, that we do every month or something that we do. This is a little, different than what Wesley was saying, but I think it would be a good compromise. So something that not Blizzard is forcing on people, or something that Blizzard isn't really controlling, but it's something that we have the choice to do if you would like to be a part of it or not. And sometimes you see this on certain servers, times on PV, RP servers. You see things like this, and I think it's.
But isn't it happening on Light's Hope? Didn't you say it's happening as well? There's a big PvP
exactly. They're making a big, but. And I think that would be cool to try to do that, say, every month and do something like that. So I think, it's a cool idea, but I think it should be in the... I don't think it should be Blizzard doing it. I think it should be the server and the guilds controlling it.
Okay.
And as far as, the world attacking, that was pretty much... so that wasn't... he was asking if that happened. I don't know if it happened in beta or not, but when they did that, it was... People were exploiting a bug that allowed hunters to basically kite Lord Kha'Zix into Stormwind and kite bosses into Stormwind. So that was kind of just exploiting, not really a bug that the fact that would stay there and just kill
an oversight.
It was an oversight. And Blizzard, they banned the people who did it, that kind of thing. So, I think it's a cool idea, to have these events, but I would like to see them more on the side of the server and the guilds creating these events in the guidelines that's already permitted.
I agree. However, I think Blizzard should highlight it on community websites. I think what they should do is not actually get involved, but still talk about it. Because it'll cause other servers to do the same thing. If they see one server's having a lot of fun doing these PvP events, Blizzard could say, hey, the Horde won this weekend, guys. Good job to guilds X, Y, and Z for coordinating this effort. So
that would be cool.
Do you know what I mean?
That would be cool, yeah. If Blizzard said, like, hey, these guys did this, let's notice them and try to put a highlight on it so that people might follow in their footsteps.
Correct. Because I think that will build healthy server communities as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I like as far as like you said, we are pretty much no changes. I do, however, like the fact of people kind of coming together in their own accord rather than being forced to do it or something like that. I think that even makes the experience more powerful. Like every week, say we're going to do city raids. We're going to raid Stormwind. We're going to raid Ironforge. Or we're going to raid Orgrimmar. We're going to raid the Undercity. Those kind of things I'd like to see the community create on their own.
I agree. What's our next question?
All right. Our third question comes from Ruben De Co. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing any of these names incorrectly. So his question is, over the course of vanilla, a lot of quests were added to smoothen out leveling. Do you want to see these quests added at launch? And his bonus question, what about abilities that were added and removed after launch? So first, let's stick with the quest one.
Okay. I think this is another excellent question. So my brother and I are very much no changes, and we would actually like to see a 1.1 launch. The problem with adding quests is I feel like it may screw up itemization progression. I could be wrong about this. So the thing is that they added quests all over on the board. So some of these quests had really interesting quest rewards, some of them did not. So if you guys don't know, in 1.1 there wasn't many quests, and grinding was a lot more prevalent than it was in later parts of the game. Wow, this is a really good question.
It is a really good question.
I personally think that... So let me tell you what Blizzard's going to do, and then I'll kind of reverse back and answer what I think should be done.
Okay.
I think Blizzard's going to launch with all the quests that were available at the end of the game.
Too. Yeah.
Because it's easier on a lot of different standpoints, and it actually makes the game a lot more fluid, and the story a lot more... it breathes life into the lore. However, I think it's very important... So this opens up a whole can of worms. So we talked about this with Esfand. And I think one way that Blizzard will differentiate themselves from private servers is I think they're going to include all the spell power gear at launch.
You do?
I do, but I think what they're going to do in turn to deal with that is that they're going to tune up Molten Core and Onyxia's Lair.
Right.
So I think if you do that, it's totally okay if you add the quests. That maybe perhaps will give gear that maybe was higher itemization than at launch.
Right. So your answer is based on certain stipulations.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. I think the answer to this question is way more involved than it's like, do you want quests or not?
Yeah. Because like personally, so for me, I honestly am okay with seeing it even with the way it was at launch if we start from 1.1. So I'm kind of on the fence with this because I know what it's like leveling in vanilla, and it can be painful at times. But I can also kind of see some pros, maybe of I could see people maybe working together more if there's less quests. Maybe the community helping each other more, dungeon runs, maybe things like that. Maybe. I try to look at the pros and cons of both, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see, what are the pros of having quests? Will it add, the importance on people maybe coming together to try to grind mobs? Will it make people want to run more dungeons during the leveling process?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a really good point.
So I try to look at the both sides of the coin, but also as someone who wants to get to 60 relatively quick, and also sometimes I like to just play by. I gravitate towards wanting to play towards other people because I love that about vanilla. I love the experience of playing, the social experience.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I feel like just logging on and being by myself and just doing some solo quests.
Yep, I agree.
Sometimes I feel like that. So I like the fact that there are quests available for me to do as with just me as solo. But I also friggin' love 5-tour outdoor content. Five-man outdoor. Wait, what did you say?
5-man outdoor content. Yeah.
5-man outdoor content. Yeah, I friggin' love it. So it's a really good question, Ruben.
Yeah, and there's so much into it. It's not one of those things you can just answer.
There really is. So I also agree with you, Melderon, when you say that they're most likely going to release with the added quests. I think they will do that, unless, and we'll get into this later, unless they offer different options, which who knows. But if they decide to do a 1.1 launch and try to make it as vanilla-like as possible, then I would like to see it as vanilla as possible, which means I would like to see it without the added quests.
I agree.
But that's only if they do that.
Right.
Because honestly, guys, I want to see classic WoW, and I want to enjoy it. There's a lot of things that Melderon and I missed in the early days of vanilla, and that's kind of one of the things that why we're looking forward to a 1.1 start in a lot of ways, is because there are certain things and certain aspects of the game that we never saw and are very interested in. And maybe it will be a pain in the ass experience, but maybe it will be an awesome experience. So I would like to at least try it. So this is why I'm on the fence with that. Now, the next question. What about abilities that were added / removed after launch? I have a lot to say about this. What about you, Melderon?
Okay, so we covered this a lot, but so this basically boils down to do we want a 1.1 talent launch or a 1.12 talent launch? And for me,
also he's saying removed and added after launch. So abilities that were also in beta. He's talking about.
Oh, I read that differently. Okay. So there's a lot of weird things that were happening before launch. And as far as I remember, I've heard this a few times, is that druids didn't even have cat form in some parts of beta. So I don't know if that's good. I personally don't want any. I personally would not like it if they were using beta stuff that was not part of the original open launch of the game. That's my personal opinion. But let me answer the 1.12 to 1.1 thing.
Sure.
So I would do 1.1 and then progress to 1.12, but I don't think Blizzard will do that. So that's my quick answer to that question.
You don't? Okay.
No, I don't think they will. I think they're going to do a
Frankenpatch.
I think they're going to do a Frankenpatch. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to do that. And I think there will be some changes over the course of the server evolution, but I think that
they're going to try to keep it as vanilla as possible.
They're going to keep it as vanilla as possible, but I also believe that the talent system in 1.12 is the most quote-unquote balanced, and I think that's what they're going to launch with. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying I think it's good, I'm just saying that's what they're going to do.
I mean, I think it's balanced in the eyes of a 1.12.1.
That's what I said. That's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
right,
I see.
But
I see. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, I think 1.12 balanced in regards to 1.12.1. I also would, argue that 1.1 talents are balanced for 1.1. Because Molten Core was a bit of an easier raid, but there were less things. There were, of course, way less mechanics than you saw even later in the life of vanilla, but there were also way less items in the game. There were way less powerful items. Casters had basically no spell power. So that was the reason why I tend to see, if you're going to start at 1.1 and, start at the progression with Molten Core and so on, you should probably start with the 1.1 talents because that is the most balanced for the time. You could argue that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but as far as the abilities that were added and removed after launch and that were in. So we talked to Esfan about, Crusader Strike. Crusader Strike was in beta, and then there was also Torrents had planes.
Well, that was just a mount thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, basically, they would run.
Yeah, instead of using a mount.
Yeah, and things like that were cool. But I think there are reasons why they were a lot of them, and look at like warriors. A lot of people were. There's that video from what's his name in the. Basically, warriors were really adamant about they needed buffs and this and that. And this one warrior made a video of himself just destroying mob after mob after mob after mob. And he was like, if anything, they need to be nerfed. They actually hired on the team at Blizzard. So I think there were a lot of cool things in the beta, such as like Crusader Strike. But when you put it into the world of vanilla, people tend to say, oh well, Ret Paladins need to be balanced. They need to do as much DPS as a warrior, or at least be on the table. But you need to think of things, in my opinion, in the world of vanilla, because Paladins were so strong in other ways. They had blessings, which were huge.
Yep.
They had the ability to heal really well. They had the bubbles. They had lay on hands, and that hybrid tax was important because they would have otherwise become a very overpowered
OP
class.
Oh my god, yeah.
If they had things like Crusader Strike. So they had to balance out, and I think they did a great job. Yes, Ret is a little on the easy side, a little on the face roll side, a little share side, whatever you want to call it. But as Fan has shown in his raids, he can. It's even more of a challenge, and I would like to look at it as that. And also, people tend to forget a lot that hybrids are sometimes the most powerful classes in PvP. Most hybrids wreck in PvP.
Dude, elemental shamans and enhancement shamans.
Elemental shamans and enhancement shamans. You have a class that does damage and can also heal. You can't say that for mages. You can't say that for rogues. You can't say that for warriors. These are classes that bring a lot of utility to the table. They may be a little bit lacking in the pure DPS, but that is not what vanilla is about.
Yeah.
Vanilla is not about just pushing out as much DPS.
Exactly.
Pushing out as much heals. It's about what you can bring to the table, what you can bring to the experience.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And Paladins reign supreme when it comes to having the best buffs, having amazing heals. They might not be great tanks, but they really surpass other classes in certain places. And that's it's important about vanilla. Each class has their own little niche and their own little thing of what they're amazing at. And that is beautiful, and the way that they did that in vanilla is amazing, and I would not like to see them change it in any way, to maybe make buff Paladins because you change one class, then people are going to complain Paladins are too powerful. You're going to have to balance every other class based on that one class.
Yeah. And
then it turns into something that isn't vanilla. That's my fear.
Yeah, I agree. And then the thing is, like, something cool, and I want to talk about a shaman perspective because I love shaman, but
yeah,
how interesting, enhancement and elemental shamans are literally specialized in burst DPS. Like, who else can say that? Like, they're the only two options in the game, in my eyes, that they specialize in that specific thing. And in 5-mans, that could be really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that like Palm Pyro.
Of course, yeah. So there are builds of mages that are very bursty. That's true. But mages also have a very sustained DPS output in raids and dungeons.
Yes.
Whereas enhancement and elemental shamans, they're literally specialized in burst PvP scenarios. Or 5-mans where the mobs aren't up as long. So just a little bit of class fantasy. You have to remember there's a lot of class fantasy and class identity in vanilla. So if you want to be a certain thing, you can pretty much do that. Whereas nowadays, it's so homogenized that you can't be that bursty specialized guy. Right. Or that buff bot, the bard that the paladin is. The paladin, Holy Paladin is basically a bard. Like Nixium has said, from D&D, from classic D&D. They really are.
So powerful.
Yeah.
They're so powerful.
So anyway, let's.
And another thing that I just want to say is, when you're talking about the shaman, that they're very strong in like 5-man instances. Like you might be able to, put in some DPS, but you can also throw out off heals. You can also do these other things and totems.
Yeah.
And there's more to bring to the table than just DPS, and that's the important thing. Like I said, it's a lot about class fantasy. Paladins, they might not be able to do as much DPS, but then you go in Naxxramas and, things like Holy Wrath, you have Exorcism, you have extra DPS towards Undead. There's that class fantasy. There's that special niche in where Paladins reign supreme. You bring a prop pally, say, to Skolo. Prop pallies do very well
Stradholm.
in Stradholm. Stradholm.
Dead, obviously.
And even, Ret Paladins, with that Exorcism, with that, you bring that to the table, and it's for that certain experience, and it makes it so much better. And you know what? To the person who wants to play Ret Paladin, to the person who wants to play Elemental, more power to you, man. You're gonna have. It might be a little bit more challenging to prove yourself in a DPS standpoint, but you're gonna feel so much more reward in the end.
And we need to give Boomies any love. Sorry, Boomies.
Boomies are the Druids are probably the most underrated.
Yeah, they are. We can get, we can get into that for hours. Let's go into the next question.
Yeah. Our next question from Samulgard. This is question number 4. His question is, what are some of the advantages to getting to level 60 before other people? Perhaps within 1 month of the start of a new server. I suspect that there are huge...
They're not huge.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I suspect they are not huge for casuals like me.
To the benefits of getting 60. Okay. One benefit that comes right on the top of my head is your ability to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you're level 60, you can clear stuff a lot quicker, especially if you're a mage. And you can literally farm a whole bunch of stuff. You have a mount. If you have your epic mount, you can run around and mine and grab herb nodes very fast. You can clear content and get to things quicker than other people, so you get geared quicker. Off the top of my head, that's all, but I'd like to hear your Defcamp, and then maybe we'll have some more. But that's off the top of my head. I haven't even thought about it. That's just right there.
There are a lot of advantages to getting to 60. Control, you will basically have control. Things like, farming the devil's, there's a lot of mat farming,
yes.
And there's a lot of professions that, call it, so a lot of pre-raid BIS, you're going to have things like the Devil's Sword set, which is amazing for pretty much almost like warriors, rogues, hunters. It's amazing. So, to be able to control that early in the game, you're going to make a lot of money because people are going to be able to get to level 60, and they're going to need that gear to raid.
Yep.
To raid Molten Core, you're going to need that stuff.
Farming elementals, another thing I just thought of. Yeah.
Like Melderon said, you're going to have control of the market, and you're also going better, a chance when it comes to getting gear. And you can also get your attunement. You're going to have to get your attunements done for Onyxia. You're going to have to do your BRD quests to get into Molten Core.
Yeah.
So, you can get to level 60, and actually you can do some of those quests before you get to level 60, which is the cool part.
Right.
But, once you get into 60, there are a lot of advantages, especially if you're going to be a little bit more serious. But, as you said, for a casual, for you, there are some benefits, like you're going to probably spend more gold buying gear in the auction house. It's going to be, because, the economy is going to be crazy at first.
Yeah, it's going to be very wonky and very fluctuating very quickly. So
it's going to be...
Yeah, don't underestimate also greens. So when you're 60,
right.
If you notice, if you're burning down mobs in the world, the greens that drop are usually 5 to 10 levels lower than you. Mm-hmm. So the big wave of people that's coming up below you that hasn't got to 60 yet are going to be buying those greens for a lot of gold. I personally wouldn't, but people are going to do it. Also, Traveler's Backpacks. The first Traveler's Backpacks that drop are going to sell for a crap load.
Yeah.
So,
backspace is huge in vanilla.
Yeah. So, again, the faster you're leveling, the faster those bags will drop, and you'll be able to sell them for a huge profit. So I think getting to 60 is not only just for bragging rights, but it's also for making a lot of gold. That's my personal opinion.
And, me, myself, though, I like to enjoy the leveling process.
Me too.
But when it comes to Classic, I probably will try to level pretty quick. But, this last, the Rogue, when I leveled him to 60, I had 9 days played, 10 days, something like that, some crazy amount. because I leveled my professions. I had enough gold when I was like level 55 to buy my epic mount.
Yeah.
You know, I had, so within a day of being level 60, I had my epic mount and I had like the Devil Sword kit. So that was like 1,300 gold total within like 2 days. So, you know.
But you're done pretty much, you know? Like a lot of your pre-raid bis is filled out.
A lot of the pre-raid bis is filled out, yeah. But, you know, do what you want to do. If you enjoy the game, playing it at a slower pace, then play at a slower pace. You're not going to miss out on. It's not going to be like to the point where, you know, you can't raid or you're going to be so far behind that you might as well just, you know, forget it. Like, it's not going to be that bad. You know what I mean? You'll be able to catch up. People are going to hit 60 before you. They're going to get the stuff into the market. The market will eventually settle. It might take a couple months, but it will eventually settle. So for the people that are going to be playing hardcore, their advantages are more than someone who are going to be playing casual.
Yeah, I agree. And you also, if you hit 60 very quickly, you also have time to relax. And so what I mean by relax is, let me explain what that means. So if you hit 60 very, very fast, okay, you're going to be among the very, very low minority. So the only endgame content you'll probably be able to do is Strat, Skolo, BRD, stuff like that. And Skolo, and BRD, maybe LBRS. So remember, all that time you're waiting for raids to start forming and people to get 40-man raid groups together, you're going to be farming and making money. I think that's a huge advantage, personally. That's just me.
And for the person who, you know, is serious, you know.
That won't be me. But if you are one of those people, then all power to you. You're going to make a lot of gold, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our next question. It's more of a fun question, serious stuff real quick. So this question comes from Krim, our friend from Down Under. Krim, he joined us in Discord recently. Great guy. And his question is, what are your guys' favorite minor lore / gag characters in
This is a great question. Okay. Let me start by saying that so there's two actual questions here. I think minor lore / gag are two different things. So I think a gag character may not really move the lore forward, but can be a really fun addition to the game. So my minor lore character, I actually have two, and Defcamp and I actually have agreed on one of them. But the first is Eitrigg. So I'm embarrassed to say that I'm not sure if Eitrigg's actually in vanilla, but he is in. He's a character from Warcraft 2, and I think he's somewhere in the game. I'm actually looking it up right now. But real quick, Eitrigg is a very interesting character. During the Second War, he's in Orgrimmar. Okay, he's in Orgrimmar. He's in the Valley of Wisdom. Okay, there you go. So Eitrigg is a very interesting character. During the Second War, during the attack of Melderon, he was actually left by his. He actually was stranded somehow, and he was living in a watchtower, which is now the Eastern Plaguelands. Okay, and he was just living there by himself, hunting off the land, living what he can do until he could find a way to get back to his group, basically. And again, and this is so the demonic corruption was starting to wane after the Second War. So, and this is also when Thrall's coming to power. Well, Eitrigg doesn't know that, so he thinks the Horde is still evil. Okay, so he's living in this tower, and of all people, just randomly stopping by is High Lord Tyrion Fordring. Okay, so just rolls by and sees the orc, and they get doing this epic friggin' battle, right? So they just start fighting each other without mincing words, and they actually destroy the watchtower. So just imagine how powerful these two are, that the watchtower made of stone just like crumbles to dust. Okay? So orcs are very honor-driven when they're not demonically possessed. So what happened was, during the collapse of the tower, it actually knocked Tyrion out. Eitrigg removed him from the rubble, and didn't want him to die that way. He didn't want him to defeat his enemy in that way. Okay? Then, some hours later, one of Tyrion, maybe a day later, Tyrion Fordring's, one of his paladins found him, one of his knights, brought him back to his house and nursed him to health. And Tyrion knew, as soon as he woke up, that the only reason he's alive is because Eitrigg saved his life. So he goes to find Eitrigg, and he actually finds him at the watchtower, and they have this conversation. They talk about, he's like, he thanks him for saving his life, and Eitrix thanks him for, just start talking. He tells him about what the orcs were like before the demonic corruption. And long story short, Eitrix gets captured. Eventually, they find out that he exists, and he's about to be put to death in Stratholme. Meanwhile, Thrall just busts in and invades Stratholme, okay? And takes Eitrix and explains to him what the Horde is really about now. And so before Thrall finds Eitrix, Tyrion Forging actually frees him and escorts him out into the countryside. So he frees his friend. They became friends. So Thrall actually runs into Eitrix in the middle of the forest, and they're about to kill Tyrion, and Eitrix stops the orcs from killing him and swears that they're blood brothers. And to this day, they're still like best friends.
Well,
yeah,
Tyrion, yeah,
Tyrion and Eitrix, yeah. So like,
Tyrion's dead in the lore in retail.
Oh, so. Really? Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that. So anyway, it's like, I don't know, I thought that's a really good story. I actually came across a story from Countdown to Classic, so thanks, Josh, for pointing that story out to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. He's got some great stories.
Yeah, he does.
Come out.
And then,
it's kind of like a little bit more of like a less the minor, kind of more major in regards to that story.
I think it's totally minor because it doesn't drive the actual gameplay. It doesn't drive the story of the game. You know what I mean? So it's just a side story. But my favorite funny or gag would probably be like Hemmet Nessigwary. I mean, like, it's a play on words of Ernest Hemingway, so it's Hemmet Nessigwary. So, I mean, he's a cool guy. I like his quests. I think they're pretty funny, and I have to say that I'm personally not into gag characters as much because I feel like it deviates from the awesome lore. I think of course you need deviations, but I think it's just that's my personal opinion. Yeah.
Shouts out to Gammon though, man. Come on, like Gammon, and it's cool because Gammon actually got like his own story in what was it, Mist of Pandaria?
Oh.
With Siege or Ogamar, you have to save him and all that. But Gammon, we've killed him so many times. The one we agreed on, we can talk about now. It's Gunther Arcanus.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
So the story behind Gunther is, so as a low-level Forsaken, you're given a quest in Brielle to talk to Bethor Iceshard, who's a mage in Undercity in the Mage Quarter. So you go there, and he's like, "Hey, there's this lich that is living near, was it Brightwater Lake in
on the lake,
in Tirisfal Glades. We don't know who he is, but we think he's very powerful. We need to know if he's free of the if he's a free-minded Forsaken, or if he's part of the Scourge. So you're tasked as this low-level character to swim into this lake, fight past his minions. So he has all these minions on the lake that are actually
he's a necromancer.
Yeah, that are under his control. You have to steal his spellbook and bring it back to Bethor Iceshard in Undercity. Once you bring that book back, Bethor realizes who he actually is. His name is Gunther Arcanus, and they were friends in life, and they both were in the Kirin Tor.
One of the most powerful, people in the Kirin Tor.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I placed an enchantment on the spellbook, and he'll know that we are free from the Scourge. So the thing is that Gunther's scared. He doesn't want to come out because he thinks all the undead around them are part of the Scourge. He has no idea that the Forsaken exist. So you go back and give him the book, and he says, "Oh, okay, but you need to prove yourself first. I need you to summon this demon and kill her." And it's like Lilith Nefara is the name of the demon, and you have to get a candle, put it on this bloody altar, which is awesome. Light the candle, and this demon comes out, and you have to kill it. Once you do that, Gunther realizes that you're telling the truth and gives you a special gem to give back to Bethor, which actually serves as a telekinetic link between the two of them. They're able to talk to each other.
Yeah,
and
the cool thing about Gunther too is like he was able to come under the spell of the Lich King all by himself. Like he got out of the Lich King's spell by himself. That's how powerful he is.
Yeah, and it's a really cool quest as a low level. Like you're level 10 probably 8 when you get this quest. So it's a really cool lore piece, and I think it's a great. And
if Blizzard ever decides to go forth with, because he was a mage who practiced in necromancy, so if Blizzard ever decides to make a necromancer class, he can kind of be like the person who starts it or something like that.
Maybe,
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
And then another one I just want to add real quick. Jordan Stillwell, of course, is the test of righteousness guy. So he's pretty much the guy that I cucked. I stole his wife.
If you're not sure what we're talking about, check out Super Plate Brothers.
Yeah. And then Amy from Unguro Crater.
Amy 01?
Quest is like Amy 01, it's like chasing Amy 01. So it's a reference to the gorilla Amy from the movie Congo. And also the movie Chasing Amy 01. So that's more of a gag character thing.
Yeah.
So let's move on from those questions. So
okay. Yes.
So more back to the serious stuff. Okay. Question number 6 comes from Zohan. Zohan, our man Zohan from YouTube. His question is: throughout the course of vanilla, with almost every patch, Blizzard. Okay, so this is very similar to, kind of similar to Ruben's quest, but with almost every patch, Blizzard added additional quests to each zone to help make the journey to 60 a bit easier. In official Classic WoW, should we start with all those extra leveling quests available, or have them come out with their respective patch? So basically, he wanted to hear our thoughts on this. Because we haven't talked about it. So I just wanted to say, Zohan, we pretty much answered those questions, but when it comes to having it come out on each patch, that would be, for me, dependent on where Classic starts. So if it does start at a 1.1, true vanilla start, then I would like to see the quests come out the way they did. But if it's something in between, what will Blizzard probably do? They will probably, have, like Melderon was talking about, the kind of a Franken patch where they have all the quests out in the beginning.
Yeah, so I think, again, we answered most of this, but I think another thing you have to realize is, like, I can't stress enough that Blizzard has to differentiate themselves from private servers. And the way to do that is to provide a more polished experience. And I think polished, to me, means more quests. And that's just from a business standpoint. So Blizzard has evolved a lot. And I think they've evolved in horrible ways in some ways. But I think in other ways, they've become much more... They have a higher level of... what's the word I'm looking for? They have to attain a certain point of quality, right? And I think that the way to do that is to realize some of the mistakes they may have made and short sights they may have made. Remember, guys, it's very hard to make something as broad and as encompassing as Warcraft without knowing exactly what's going to happen in every player's scenario and every player's experience. So I think they put as much quests as they thought they needed when the game came out, but then soon realized that, wait a second, maybe we need a little bit more. So I think there's a little bit of,
I see what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah. So I think the adding quests is not a bad thing. I just think it's something that may just need to be done as part of the natural progression, but
maybe also done as part of the natural progression, because maybe not add all the quests in the beginning.
Maybe not all of them.
You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe certain ones
that have game breaking quest
I
rewards.
Think Light's Hope had no quests. I remember in the beginning of Light's Hope Chapel.
And we could and then what about Flight Masters? The same thing, right? So there was a lot of Flight Masters added in too. Do you want them at launch, or do you want them to
connecting
flight paths? So these are a lot of things that that kind of go into the quest question. That a little bit, but I think it's all tied in together somehow. You know what I mean? Right. I think it's a point where Blizzard was like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that. I mean, we kind of covered a lot of that, but I think that's just trying to add on a little bit more to it so we can kind of talk about it a little bit further. But
okay, so thank you, Zohan. Our next question is from Ian Ladke. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. So his question first, we were talking about, I believe, adding, we were talking about in the classic beta, you had abilities like Holy Strike, things like that for Paladin. So this one is specific to Paladins pretty much. Let's So it starts off, I would like to add an addendum to my question about Holy Strike. I've continued to dig through the forums, cancerous though they are at times, and come across an interesting phenomenon that relates tangentially to my question. There are an absurd, seems an accurate word, number of threads relating to this very topic. I don't mean class balance in general, but rather the Paladins, Prot, and Red Trees specifically. I understand the impulse, I really do. Light how I understand it. I do too, man. The Pally protests are still remembered alongside the Million Gnome March for a reason. But there are 4 or 5 threads currently on the front page devoted to the discussion of Paladins being broken and needing fixing. With far more present further back. So,
I think
what
you should
are
take
your
this
thoughts?
question.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on this phenomenon? Not the idea that people want classes fixed, but the idea that 80%, yes, I did pull that number out of my redacted, of the threads about fixing classes seem to be about Paladins in particular. There doesn't seem to be anywhere near the amount of demand for Druid or Shaman fixes. Okay. You want me to take this first, Melderon?
Yes, because you're way more Paladins about it.
Okay. So, originally, I think the reason why we saw more questions when it came to the Paladin is because, this is me personally now saying this, the Paladin is a very traditional class that you saw in many other games such as Diablo 2, D&D, and I think a lot of people wanted to play the Paladin in vanilla when it came out, and they wanted it to be a damage dealing class, and I believe a lot of people wanted it to be more than just a healing class and a buff class. Mm-hmm. So I think that is why we see more Paladins protesting and making comments based on that, because I think in the beginning, the idea of what a lot of people had in their head as a Paladin is not what they really got in the World of Warcraft.
You know whose fault that was? Warcraft
Whose?
Arthas is in Warcraft 3. That's why.
So go on. Why?
People were so used to playing the hero class as Arthas in Warcraft 3 that they wanted to emulate that as much as possible. But you have to remember, guys,
so
Arthas is a lore hero. You
and Diablo 2 as well.
And Diablo 2, yes,
Diablo
sorry.
2.
Diablo 2. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yes. But continue.
So that, I completely agree with that, Melder. And I think the idea that people got of the Paladin through Warcraft 3 and Diablo 2 didn't translate well into what World of Warcraft gave us as a Paladin.
Right.
But on that note, I myself love the Paladin class as it is in vanilla. I guess it's because I love Holy Paladin, and that is what they reign supreme in my opinion. When it comes to PvE and even PvP and healing, they are amazing. Holy Paladins are amazing. And I am pretty happy with how Paladins were throughout pretty much I didn't play in early vanilla, but I'm pretty happy with how my experience with Paladins are. But also, I think the other part of that is, Ian, it kind of became of a meme a little bit about complaining about Paladins. I think another thing is a lot of players who made a Paladin, maybe it was their first character, and again, they wanted this damage dealing class, and they were forced into a role that was a little bit more, maybe not difficult, but not what they wanted, not what they saw. But then the argument about prop Paladins is pretty interesting because, you do, Druid tanks got a pretty shitty hand in the beginning of vanilla. I think their damage reduction, their actual armor, was a quarter of what it was later in vanilla. And you did see some complaints about that, but nothing compared to the complaints about people talking about Paladins and not having a taunt. I know Righteous Fury was buffed eventually because it didn't have as much threat as it used to, as it does now and later in vanilla. And but I think a lot of the cries and not cries, but a lot of the complaints come more from the ret side, if I'm not mistaken, than the prot side of paladins. I could be totally wrong with that, but I know that a lot of people did have problems with the trees specifically, like you said, and a lot of people actually liked the trees in earlier vanilla because you were able to get to certain abilities shorter in the tree.
Yeah.
But again, another reason why we saw more complaints about that, and it specifically, I believe, because of Diablo 2 and Warcraft 3. It was this hero class. It was basically almost like the first hero class in a way, Paladins. Yeah. You could argue that. And it wasn't, I think, what people had in mind. We even saw, I was watching Tips Out recently, one of his videos where he watched the earlier BlizzCons, and they even said, they wanted Paladins to be a little bit on the easier side when it came to, with DPS. Because basically, it's almost less than like an enhancement shaman in a way. You basically, buff your weapon with whatever seal you're using, and there isn't, and that's why a lot of people talk about like Holy Strike. That would at least add a little bit, something to the rotation. Yeah. But again, like we talked about in earlier with class balancing, specifically we were talking about paladins earlier in this video when we were talking about trying to weave in certain abilities, what that does. But yeah, the main ones I'd say is number one, what we saw with Warcraft 3 and Diablo, and also I think it became a little bit of a meme when people were maybe not, but people complained about paladins, and it was like basically if you were a paladin, you were pretty much complaining about it because you were forced into healing a lot of the times, and that was the complaint. But like you said, shamans and druids had the same pretty much hand dealt, and we did see less of the complaining from the druids and the shamans. Maybe some people would add that maybe it has something to do with the people that played paladins. I don't think so. I think that a lot of the people were over there were kids. A lot of kids played paladins and this and that, and maybe they were drawn to that at first. But I think they're also in the same effect. There are a lot of people who love the paladin class from things like D&D. Like I love paladin in D&D, and people who were played Warcraft 3 and Diablo 2 and wanted that paladin that they had in those experiences but didn't get it. So
yeah, I think that's exactly a good point. And I think from the shaman perspective, druids can be very, very powerful if you know how to play them right.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they're not going to be raid tanking mostly. They're not going to be they're not going to top the healing charts, but they are powerful in a lot of different scenarios. However, so from the shaman perspective, it's a really interesting point. You're absolutely right. Shamans don't complain as much as paladins, and I really don't know why. Because you can't. I mean, if you're lucky to be the one enhancement shaman in a raid, it's because you have the axe, Nightfall or Nightmare. If you have that basically can increase magic damage on a chance on hit. That's the only enhancement shaman that's going to be ever brought to a raid in high progression or medium progression guilds. But I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Why it's on the paladin side way more than shaman. But what I would like to see. So this is like, okay, I am in no changes. Okay, I have no changes for very many reasons. But everyone has their selfish things that they would like to see changed, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't want this changed. But if for some reason, in a perfect world, right, I would love enhancement to be the tanking spec. I would love to tank as a shaman, personally. I don't want that in the game. I don't want that in the game, Blizzard. All I'm saying is,
I think they kind of went that way.
They were supposed to be. They were supposed to rival paladins in every way.
Right.
So that's why there's a shield specialization talent in enhancement.
Yeah.
There's a thing to increase your armor by the stone skin totems. Yep. There's a thing to so why does Rockbiter weapon increases threat? Like all these things, they were supposed to be tanks. And in some far-off universe, some alternate universe, I really hope there's a universe somewhere where shamans can be tanks. I really do.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would.
Anyway.
All right, let's move on to the next question. We got to get through these. We only have a few more.
Yeah, we're almost
but
there.
Our next question I was looking forward to is from Elvis Angry, a friend from YouTube and in Discord. Elvis in Discord always has great things to say. and great questions. His question is, it's about how being competitive in PvE is going to be measured. I think this is a great one. So,
Yeah.
because if you know the story, on private servers, we have sites like, say, Realm Players. Great as it is, fact is that some guilds, which are regarded as being cream of the crop, have actually pre-cleared trash inside the raid just so that they can post better time for clearing raid, because Realm Players start recording your time at the moment when you engage first boss, not when you enter the instance and pull trash.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this for a while. So let me start with this one. Okay, so Josh from Countdown to Classic had a speedrunner on an interview, and I can't remember his name. I think it was Julian, but I could be totally wrong about that. Anyway, okay, let me start by saying this. It is imperative that we don't introduce raid difficulty in vanilla, okay? There should be one raid difficulty. This is the raid, this is it, okay? Everyone experiences the same difficulty. That being said, however, the way to make raid difficulty harder is through speedrunning. So, if you're competitive, and if you want to be competitive, if you want to be the cream of the crop, you can do this as a way, as like a heroic mode, right? This is your heroic mode. You post your time, you do that, and this is how it's supposed to be. Okay, let me just stop there. Okay, as far as is concerned with speedrunning and times, I think this is one of those scenarios that we talked about in our previous Death Talk with GP30 that Blizzard really should get involved with the community. If you saw the GP30 interview, we talked about Blizzard potentially creating new videos about like introductions to new launches, to new patch launches, like when Nax come out. And it's awesome like cinematic that comes out for Classic when launch. So this is their way of getting involved with the community when they did back in the day. And if you remember Warlords of Draenor, they put out these really cool lore videos. Mm-hmm. I think this is another aspect that Blizzard can get involved with the community. Speedrunning. It promotes high-end rating, it promotes competition, but it doesn't cause a rift with players with dungeon difficulty. Okay? So, if Blizzard is able to officially regulate speedrunning, it will universalize... Hold on, let me finish. It will universalize this thing. You will get 0 for doing it. You will not get a mount, you will not get gear. So, what the guy proposed is if you are speedrunning and if you break a record, the only thing you get is 1 extra drop per boss.
I don't know about that.
What are your thoughts?
So I think first what he was about the sites. So Elvis, it's very unfortunate that how players are so, it's always been this way to an extent, that the hardcore players have been all about, getting that realm first, getting that first kill. But more and more as the life of WoW has gone on, we've seen such a heavy pull and people, like, all they care about is the numbers. And it's been, I think, in a way, bad for the experience in a way. Okay.
You see speedrunning is?
No, not speedrunning. Just so his thing is like, on privates they have sites like Realm Players, which rates the people who like even if it's the speed run or the first kill for the server, things like that. And it's nice in it's a little bit better in the private server world, but I'm worried about, and I'm kind of getting this from his question too, we have things like in retail today, you have parses, right? So your parse is based on your DPS, your performance, and people actually, if you become like a hardcore raider, they basically look at your parse, and based on your parse will invite you to a group or into a guild, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So basically rating a person based on their performance on a number. Okay, this number could be, and the problem that I've talked about in my first Death Talk is you can have a high parse but be the worst guild player, the worst person
Yes,
in the guild,
yes,
because
yes.
you can just tunnel the boss down. Be the person who stands. Because you actually get points like as a healer for like standing in mechanics and healing yourself, which is retarded how it works in my head because it's so stupid. But you get like these certain points for doing certain things, and because they don't look at is this guy maybe standing in the mechanic getting healed like crazy. No, it's based on your damage. It's based on other things like that. So this person could be tunneling. This person could be the reason why you wipe over and over again.
Right.
But he has the highest DPS for that fight, so he has the highest parse. That is an issue that I hope does not translate over into classic servers. And I think that's what he's going with the question a little bit. How, because people, they like this. They will go into a raid and pre-clear the trash just so they can get that time to start as soon as they start at the first boss.
But if Blizzard gets involved, it removes that issue. Is what I'm trying to say.
True, but Blizzard getting involved, Melderon, is an issue because when Blizzard gets involved, it usually becomes, I don't want to say, when Blizzard gets involved in things like that, it usually diminishes something for me. I don't know what it is,
okay.
but so you look at like the Mythic Invitationals that are going on now. Okay, so it's great to see people doing the Mythic pluses and you get to see PvE in a way that really hasn't been shown like PvP has in the aspect of playing the game. But when Blizzard gets involved with things, they have to regulate rules. They have to do this. They have to everyone has to be on the same par. You have to do this, and it takes away something about the freedom of the game that you have.
I agree with what you're saying, but this is for a very small niche group of people. This is for only speedrunners.
I understand that, but I think also if Blizzard gets involved with it, speedrunning is going to become the norm, and everyone's going to. And guys, we're going to be doing a speedrun.
Yeah, but dude, have you? Dude, it's not easy. These speedruns are very hard.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. But say they implement some kind of system where every player is rated somehow.
No. So there's no rating per player.
Not
it's
by
per
Blizzard.
guild.
I'm not saying by Blizzard. I'm not saying by Blizzard, but a website like Elvis is saying. So say that a website is created, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Classic, and it looks at the scores for people based on how quick they did each raid.
Yeah.
So now you have this system in place. Even if a person isn't even into like you see all the time. Even if a person isn't in the Mythic rating, whatever, and he wants to. I want to get in this group. Well, they're going to look at his parse, and if he never did a speed run before, they're not going to take him or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of. Yeah. I'm just afraid because I saw what happened. I see what happens with Mythic rating, and I see what happens with, these websites that people go to basically gauge players.
Yeah, but so the thing is, it wouldn't be player based. It can't be player based. It's guild based.
I mean, but what if the player has these kills and then he leaves the guild? And then why
only the guild gets that. Only the guild gets notoriety. That's the way these things work. So the guild has to basically. But
he's talking about realm players. So this is realm players. So it rate player. Like this is something like.
Yeah, but so if Blizzard gets involved, you don't do that. Is what I'm trying to say. You limit you. So it removes that competitive aspect from a player basis and only gives it to guilds. And the only benefit to getting that is once in a blue moon, a boss will drop 3 pieces instead of 2. And it's for guild bragging rights. I mean, that's the only reason.
First of all, I think the bragging right enough. So the way I would say, so this is a little bit different. I think the page is a little bit different pages. I'm talking about more about like rating the players. You're talking about the speed runs. But I think as far as the speed runs go, have a website where people list, this guild got the fastest speed, and I think the bragging right should be as far as it is. I do not think that they should get extra gear. I think doing that First of all, it's something you're adding something into Classic that wasn't
No,
there.
I understand that, and that's why I'm on the fence on this. It's something that I'm playing devil's advocate mostly
Right.
about,
But
but it's a very interesting point.
Yeah, I would be okay with guilds, rating themselves on speed runs. These are guilds that specifically, run on speed runs. This is what we do. But what Elvis is talking about here, I think, is in the competitive PvE as far as measuring things like boss kills, DPS. Say
I don't want the WoW armory that we have now. I don't want that. Whereas you can see each person's progression. I think that's bad.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's what he's talking about more from player status. Okay, this guy applied to our ZG Pug, and you look him up, and he might be a player who played in Classic. He might not. He might be a player who played actual vanilla, who was a top tier raider, and came back now and is playing casual because he has a wife and kids, and all he was able to do, is get his pre-raid BIS. But they see that he has no molten core kills. They see that his, DPS is a little bit on the lower side. Obviously, he has less gear, but they don't even give him the shot just because he doesn't have any molten core kills or anything like that. So they're able to look up on the website, see his kills, see this and that, and rate him based on, what's on a website.
Yes, I agree. So I think the only player-based measurement of PvE notoriety should be standing in Orgrimmar with your gear on, or Stormwind.
Yeah,
and
I think
that's it.
A big part of rating of vanilla, you had maybe 20 or 30 people that were really.
You broke off.
Just to fill in bodies. I'm sorry. A lot of the times, just to fill the bodies, you took in players that weren't very geared. And that gave a chance for new players to get geared. And but when we see, things like this where there's websites and you can rate people and you can rate players, I'm kind of against it because I saw what happened. What happens, it's cool to an extent to say, oh, I scored really high on this fight. That's a cool achievement.
Yeah.
But I get that same feeling just looking down at the healing meter and see that I topped the heals. I don't need there to be a number on a website to tell me that I'm a good healer. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't need that. Other people, they like to, be the best at what they are. That's awesome. You know what I mean? But let it happen the way it happened in vanilla by, that guy, he's a badass. He's in our guild. He's always got the top DPS. And everyone on the server knows him because of that, not because of a rating or a number on a website.
I totally agree. And I think that I see your point, and if Blizzard gets involved, it'll turn into a blank measuring contest. And I think that's a bad thing. The only point I was talking about was a specific thing with speedrunning because it will limit the need for raid difficulty.
Right.
I don't want raid difficulty.
I think it's cool. I think speedrunning is cool, but I also I don't agree with giving them extra loot. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't every. So the way the guy talked about it in Count of the Classic wasn't every boss. It was a chance of.
Oh, okay. But still, yeah.
That's how it was.
I don't know. It just sounds a little fishy.
Yeah.
With the whole extra loot thing. So the thing that I want to stick to is one of the main things about, and one of the feelings that I got from vanilla was, you knew who the badasses were, and the fact that we had just one server. You knew who the people were. You didn't have to go on a website to type in a name. Sometimes you didn't know who the guy was. He might have been new. But for the most part, you knew people. You knew the guilds. If they were in a certain guild, I know this guild. They're pretty good. This guy's pugging, and he's in, say, the Knights Who Say Knee or whatever.
Yeah.
I know that they're a good guild. I'm going to give this guy a chance. Not, and then I think also that's why it's important that we have to keep, everything based on one server.
Yeah.
Because then that also lessens the need to have websites like that in a way.
Correct.
So yeah, a bit of a loaded question. But a great question nonetheless. All right, let's move on to Ken Bone's question. Number 9. Ken Bone, thank you. He is a subscriber on YouTube.
Leave Ken Bone alone.
Leave Ken Bone alone. All right. Number 9. Would you guys be okay with seeing different servers that offer different things for classes?
Classic.
Examples. What did I say?
For classes.
I'm sorry.
For classic.
Yes. Okay, would you guys be okay with seeing different servers that offer different things for classers? Examples. So imagine if there was a server that was no changes. I know that's kind of broad, he said,
Yeah.
but it starts at 1.1 and is almost exactly Blizz like, just minus the bugs. Basically, it starts off exactly like Vanilla did, with talents, gear, and all of that, and progressed in the same time and everything. And then maybe another server that was kind of in the middle, like a Frankenpatch server. Something kind of in the middle, he said again. And maybe they increase boss damage or health, kind of what Esfan was talking about in the Def Talk you guys did. Okay, so from the Def Talk, yep.
Yep.
Then lastly, maybe a server that is smaller to private servers.
Similar to private servers.
I'm sorry, similar to private servers. Starts at 1.12.1, has BGs from the start, all that good stuff. So basically, the people playing a private servers are used to. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's basically a private server, but from Blizz. So he says the biggest problem I see with this is that maybe it will split the community up too much. But I don't know. It seems like it would make people happy to pick from different choices. They could even do a server that has raid content after Nax. What do you guys think about that?
So this
Very
is
interesting question.
Very interesting question. I think you answered it though. I think the primary issue with this is that it's going to split the community. It's going to split streamers. It's going to split content. It's going to split so much that it's going to cause so much division and so much that it's almost going to counteract the movement itself. And
I see what he's trying to do here, and
I definitely do, and I think it's warranted. I just think. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I think it's a great idea. Like in a perfect world where this could work, it would be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be great that if there was a healthy community, people weren't worried about what people were streaming and seeing this and seeing that. Because, are you playing on this server? Yeah, okay, I'm going to play. Oh, no, make sure it's the 1.12 one, or make sure it's the 1.1 one, or no, make sure you play on the Frankenpatch one, or make sure you're playing on this server. Oh, is it the PvE version of that server? Oh, yeah, the RP PvE version of the 1.1 server, not the 1.12. It just gets crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
In a perfect world, if we had limitless options, I think that this would definitely be a cool thing to do. But remember that the movement was to basically do this to get Classic WoW out. And remember, so this is the biggest part. Blizzard's not going to want to do this for money reasons.
Yeah.
It's too much maintenance.
Now, what if I played like a little devil advocate here?
Yeah.
Advocate say, okay, what if we just go to two different kinds? To one that's
1.1 progression.
1.1.
Yeah.
Because I know of a lot of people, and maybe you can even do this, say, when TBC comes out. Okay, so imagine this, right? Vanilla has been out for a while. It's started at maybe, the way we see it, it's done the Frankenpatch thing, started at 1.1, moved on from there, whatever. It is what it is in the future, whatever it becomes. But then say when they're ready to bring out TBC, they offer a split. They offer people to either copy and paste their player to the
BC realm, yeah.
BC realm, or they can copy and paste their player to a vanilla realm that keeps on going in.
So patches after next.
Exactly, what she said there. So,
I think that would be very interesting. I personally, as a lore guy,
I know I have issues with it.
I have issues with it as well. However, I think that it's a potential not end. I think it's a potential outcome. I wouldn't put it under the table yet because we're talking 3-4 years down the road, or 2-3 years down the road, where I think Blizzard's going to be making a considerable amount of money from Classic.
Yeah.
And I think that their design philosophy is going to be shifted to where it may be possible that we may see something like that. I definitely do.
I definitely see it in the realm of possibilities, but I also see in the realm of reality there being, at launch, one version of Classic. I'm not saying, obviously they'll
Oh, it's a great idea. I'm not saying it's a bad
realms.
idea. It's a great idea.
No, I'm just saying in reality what I
exactly. Yeah.
I expect there to be one version of Classic, then and the variations they have are going to be PvE realms, PvP realms, and they're going to try to work. See, so he gave a pretty good example with the 3 different types, right?
Yeah.
There's the 1.1
progressive,
as no changes as you can, pretty much exactly as vanilla was from beginning to end without the bugs. Okay, without the bugs, without the oversights. And then in the middle, you have the Frankenpatch, right? You have the, maybe it starts at 1.1. Maybe it has something like the 1.1 talent. Maybe it has really no. There are of course different types of Frankenpatches, right?
Yes.
Maybe something in the middle, and then you see the 1.12 one, which is pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's basically what private servers are, and tends to be a little bit on the easier side when it comes to clearing content. And that's what a lot of people, I think, who when they talk about Classic's a face roll, dude, you're talking about private servers. Private servers are like we say, it's a good cover band.
Yes.
But it's not vanilla.
And we'll get into this in the next question, but but there's go ahead. I'm sorry.
But anyway, I think what they're going to end up doing is something in the middle, probably. It kind of conglomerate all this, try to conglomerate all this together in a way to create a Frankenpatch type thing.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Is it what I want to see personally? Not really. I would be more on the end of the 1.1. Just because I personally, that's how I feel, nothing wrong with that. If you personally like to see the 1.12, nothing wrong with that either. This is what I would personally like to see. But I am willing to compromise. I am willing to compromise.
As long as we don't have pet battles.
As long as we don't have pet battles.
And LFG.
As long as we have, like Ian Hazakasa said, vanilla means vanilla.
Yeah.
It means we will have some version of Classic WoW that is vanilla.
Yeah.
I am no changes. I would like to see it as no changes. As vanilla as it can be. That's what I would like to see. So, it's a very interesting idea where people can get, a version of what they want in these 3 main niches of where people have kind of conglomerated to, where they've kind of been drawn to these 3 different styles of Classic, you could say. It's an interesting idea where you're trying to make everyone happy. The point of view, like I am an idealistic person also, but it's in a perfect world, maybe,
Yep. So the last question is actually, I'm really interested in talking about that one, so if we can get to that, Defcamp.
Sure. Question number 10 from Vegas on Discord, good buddy on Discord who has joined us on Discord. He has asked us, do you think Blizzard is being unnecessarily quiet about the development? And if, what do you think is the reason? And at what stage do you think it's in?
Okay. So Elvis is angry. Actually just posted this in Discord. People are too entitled to get answers. To be honest, if I was Blizzard, I would keep silent too. Not just because I have noticed nothing significant to show, but also because community can't even agree what they want, not to mention behavior. That's a reason. But I think here's the major thing here. Guys, and I hate to say this because at first I was like, why is it taking them so long? This is a huge endeavor. And this is why. It has to do with the patch stuff. It has to do with what version of vanilla we're getting. Guys, there is so much to think about. Itemization. Talents. Questing. Flight masters. Auction houses. There's so much. And what I think's happening right now is they don't want to tip their hand yet, because if they do, we're going to get so much controversy and backlash. What I think they're trying to do right now is figure out the perfect patch progression that will incorporate all the necessary things, including quests, items, gear, and everything, that will be the most logical progression through the content. And it's very hard. And I think that's the issue, is why they're being so silent, is because they're just... I guarantee every day those 5 guys are getting together in a conference room and they're like, okay, what are we going to do about this zone today? How about this quest?
Yeah.
How about this raid? If we incorporate magic damage, we have to buff Rag by 8%. No, 7%. No, 6.5%.
Or no, we don't buff it at all.
This is what's happening right now today.
No changes, yeah. Now, the issue that I have with... I understand where you're coming, Melderon, but from the horse's mouth, from J. Al on crack, J. Al on Brack, he said... The reason why we may have announced a little early is because we want to involve the community in these questions, right?
Yes.
Which they have not done. So
yes, but Jay Allen Brack is now on the Classic WoW development team.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But he is obviously the one who announced it, and he is, probably has something to do with it as far as, what is his exact title again? He's like the lead development...
something or other.
Yeah, so I'm
Let me look
sure,
real quick. Yeah.
he is a big honcho over there,
Yeah.
So for
Production
him to
director of World of Warcraft.
Okay. Production director, it's a big
and vice president of Blizzard Entertainment.
Well, there you go. So for him to come out and say the reason why we announced a little bit early was blah, 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 we wanted to get the opinions and thoughts of the community. Now, that is great, but they did announce early, over 6 months ago, and they still have not basically asked us anything. So, when developing these very important and making these very important decisions, if that is what they are doing now, we don't even know the issue that I have listening to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is the issue that I have. It would be nice for them to say, hey guys, we see the controversy right now. We are trying to find a way to present this to you guys. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's
not
fine.
Not even that we're going to present this to you now. This is that. Just that we are trying to come up with a way to present this to you guys. That is what I think they, and I do agree with Elvis in a bit, how people, they can't agree. Yes, that, but I think that's also because of that breeds from a little bit of not knowing anything,
Yes.
The fact that there isn't any knowledge about basically anything kind of breeds that confusion and controversy and the behavior in a way. So one could argue that, if Blizzard were to at least say something like that, hey guys, we hear you, we know you guys are there, and we're trying to think of a way to kind of propose this to you guys.
Yeah.
I think that would at least ease the community knowing that, okay, yeah, they did announce Classic and they said they were going to do this, and okay, they're working on it. They hear us. That is, I think, the frustration that is definitely warranted. It's understandable, and for me, when I feel frustrated about this topic, it's, hey, couldn't they at least just come out and say? I don't want them to say, listen, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and then say, oh well, what about our input? Oh yeah, well we just went ahead and did what we, you know what I mean? At least let us know that they are listening to us now. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're looking at the forums. I hope they are. But the fact that I don't know that's the issue.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they need to do, hey guys, we're in development, we're working. And I think what they should do is give a percentage. Hey guys, we're 45% done. What we need to do.
I even think that's too much, honestly.
Really?
Yes, I do. I think for right now, because of, I think they have a pretty good reason not to want to say anything because of BFA. They don't want to diminish I feel like the hype is already kind of low on BFA.
Yeah.
They don't want to diminish it even more, so they don't want to. That is probably a big reason why they're not announcing anything about Classic.
That's a good point.
So to give a number would pretty much even hurt them even more in that sense.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good
so
point.
The main thing that I just want to hear right now is, hey guys, we have been listening to you. That's it. That's all I really want to freaking know. That's
a good point.
it, dude. That's all I want to know. We've been listening to you.
Yeah. So in the second part of your question is at what stage you think that they're in. I think literally there's two things they're doing right now. Two main things they're doing right now. Figuring out how to integrate the old software into the current server technology. And two, they're literally tuning all day. I think they're tuning all friggin' day. I really, really do. I think they're...
I honestly, because I personally didn't even think they got... I don't think they got...
Yeah, I lost you. Say that again?
I'm sorry. I personally don't even feel that they got that far yet.
So what do you think they're doing?
I think they're still trying to figure out what the hell to do. Where to start from.
Well, that's what I mean. They're tuning to determine which patch progression.
Oh, okay.
So
when I think tuning, I think of numbers.
Sorry. So what I think they're doing is they're saying, okay, if we run Molten Core with this gear, what happens? Over and over and over again. And they're doing a lot of statistics, and I'm
so they're still brainstorming, you would say.
Yeah. I think so. I think they have a pretty good idea of where they want to start. In my eyes, I think they know exactly what patch they want to start with and what abilities they want to start with. I think they already figured that out. So now I think they're tuning. I think they're tuning mobs and tuning bosses, and I think they're. And then the other big thing is literally integrating the technology to two different technologies, or one archaic technology versus one current state-of-the-art technology. And I think that's the two things they're working on right now.
Another thing I would like to say about what Elvis said on the answer when he answered in Discord. If you guys want to join in on this topic, guys, join our Discord. But
it's the links in the description.
He said, but also because the community can't even agree with what they want, and not to mention the behavior. So yes, of course there is the negative behavior, but I think when we look at that, we're looking at like the tip of the iceberg. The community that's outspoken. They're the ones who are at the top. They're the ones who are triggered. They're the ones who are, not triggered, but they're the ones who are, got to the point where they are lashing out in a way or just reaching out in a way, whether it's some of the negative behavior. But I feel like that's a small part of the community, and I feel like people gauge the community just based on those responses. But we have people, like the people that are here in Discord with us, like Elvis, like Vegas, that are not those people who don't, have the negative behavior, but are still, fans of Classic that are here waiting patiently. And I think those people are definitely underrepresented, which is unfortunate because I feel that there are a lot of good people in this community. And I feel like the toxic people from the community kind of, they're the ones that are very outspoken, and they're the ones who are flashy in there, and they get the attention, but they don't speak for all of us. And I think it's very unfortunate that the stigma that we have gotten is that everyone who's part of the Classic community is toxic, and it's just a community, and communities have negatives, communities have positives, communities have people in the middle, they have the left, they have, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just that. And that's what I would say about that.
I would expect. So when's BlizzCon this year?
That's a good question. I know the tickets just went on sale.
BlizzCon 2018 is on.
It's like
5/12, right? May 12th.
Oh, May.
No. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. November 2nd through 3rd.
I was gonna say. It's like that's when tickets.
Sorry, November 2nd through 3rd. Guys, expect a Classic announcement then.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, I kind of want to go to that BlizzCon.
I would love to, but I don't think we're going to hear anything until then. I really, really don't. Because BFA will already be out.
You don't even think we're going to hear anything at the announcement of after the
launch of BFA?
BFA?
No, because I think they want that launch to be very, very big. They want it to be as big as possible without any shadowing.
Right, I'm talking about after the launch, because the launch is in August. Right.
Right. So BlizzCon's in November.
September, August, September,
October,
November.
2 months.
So duh. Missed a couple months there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 months. Yeah. So it's not that big of a
no.
from there. Yeah.
I really think that's when we're going to hear about it.
And then I would say, what do you think? A year from there?
No, I think 6 months from there.
6 months from there. Okay.
So Q2, 2019.
Okay. So yeah, guys. So that is the last question that we have.
Yeah, there is something I want to talk about, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, because I want to talk a little bit about something too. But go ahead.
All right. So this is. Is yours related to this?
A little bit. Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, you first, and mine's not related
No,
to this at all.
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is an errata. So errata, guys, is if you write a book, usually a textbook, and you make mistakes in the textbook, they produce in the next version. They produce an errata, like what was erroneous in the last version. So I want to clarify something that I said in my shaman leveling guide. Okay, you're familiar with downranking, Defcamp, so Defcamp knows about this at all.
Yeah.
So the reason people downrank in shamans, when I told you that equation where you take the range of the spell, take the average of it, and divide it by the mana cost. If you have no plus healing, okay, no gear that gives you extra healing or magical effect or plus healing gear, static plus healing gear, the most mana efficient spell will always be the highest rank.
Right.
However, when you incorporate plus healing, each rank benefits from plus healing in different ways. That's why lower ranks are more mana efficient.
Yep.
So you can't go by the range in your spell book. You have to literally cast a spell on yourself 10 to 15 times. Make sure it's no crits, because crits will screw up the average.
There's an add-on that you can get.
There is, but if you want to do it yourself, all you got to do is like cast on yourself like 10 to 15 times. The more the better, because the more samples you have, the closer you are to the true average. Take non-critical values, and then calculate your averages from when you have plus healing gear. Don't do it with static ranges. I made that mistake, and I want to make sure if anybody's listening to this that watched and this goes for every healing class, not just shaman. So something to keep in mind.
So that kind of goes a little bit. So when it comes to classic, one of the beautiful things that you see is that you have things like downranking. You have things like feeding your pet. You have things like every level you get a point to put in your talents. Like, I think for the people who never experienced classic, you're in for a very pleasant surprise. I think that if you like MMOs, if you like RPGs, and if you like retail now, but there are some things that you don't like about it, Classic WoW may be the game for you. And I would very much, I know there's a lot of people who think that, what I want to talk about is a little bit about how they think that Classic is very easy, and it's, when they look at, they really only are looking at one aspect of that, and that is the rating.
In private servers.
In private, and exactly that's what I'm getting to. Yeah,
because Blizzard is part of the tuning I was talking about before. Is Blizzard's making it non-face roll? I guarantee you they are.
Right, and that's what I'm getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, guys, people who are used to either playing on private servers or have heard people referring to private servers, if Blizzard tries to get that true vanilla feel and goes with how things were in vanilla, like the fact that in Molten Core, you did not have very good gear, and it was a lot. The DPS that people do on private servers in Molten Core when it first came out is not what people were doing in vanilla. And there were a lot of reasons because of that. Yes, of course, players were less, they had less information, things like that. But a lot did have to do with the spells, with the damage, with the gear. And, a lot of the bosses and mechanics, a lot of the numbers are best guesses in a way. A lot of them aren't tuned to what Blizzard has. Those numbers, Blizzard has them. And we will get a very better experience with Classic when it comes out. I believe so. I hope so.
I really do, too.
So, for those of you who already have a judgment on Classic, keep your mind open. Just keep your mind open. That's all that I ask. Keep your mind open because you may be surprised. But that's pretty much all the time we have, unless there was anything else you want.
No, I just would like to, if you guys liked this video, please leave a like. If you are interested in more things we'll be doing in Defcamp Melderon TV, we do a Super Play Brothers Let's Play, we do Def Talk with WoW creators and enthusiasts, we make vlogs, we do guides sometimes. If you guys want more of what you're listening to now, and maybe even some different stuff that you want, drop a subscribe, guys, and turn that bell notification on. And we'll be in your ear as much as we possibly can. But we want to broaden not our scope, but the Vanilla WoW community in general.
Yeah.
And the more people involved, the better, and the more healthy communities we'll have. So drop us a like, drop us a subscribe, join us on Discord. The links are in the description. Follow us on Twitter. That link's in the description as well. And if you want to email us about being on Dev Talk, that will be in the description. It's melderon.gaming@gmail.com.
And also, guys, look forward to me streaming soon. I just bought some new equipment that will help me stream, and that will be coming soon. But also, I just want to say, guys, first of all, everyone who asked questions in the Q&A, thank you very much. We really appreciate it, guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you again, guys, for hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark. I just want to add, we recently have had a lot of people joining us in Discord, and we've recently had a lot of people just becoming part of the community. And I really got to say, I am so happy with how this community is turning out. We have some amazing people in this community. Some people that I feel so open with, and it's so cool to see this side of the community, the side that isn't the toxicity, the side that's just real people who are passionate about Vanilla WoW. And I love you guys. I really do. You guys are becoming a family, and it's awesome. It's really cool. So if you guys want to be a part of that, like Melderon said, join us on Discord, join us on Twitter, give us a subscribe. We really are building something pretty amazing here. And, join us for when that fresh server opens up. We're going to have a good time over there.
Yeah, we're going to be on Horde, and most likely our guild name will be...
Don't say it. You don't want anybody to steal it.
I mean, it's going to be called Metal Militia.
You can bleep that out, yeah.
Yeah, I'll bleep it out. Anyway, so it's going to be called Metal Militia. Anyway, we're going to have a guild, so when you guys are interested, it'll be Horde side as soon as the new server launches. I don't know what our character names will be yet, so we'll tell you what they are when we get it, and we will go from there.
All right, guys, we had a lot of fun. Until next time, this is Defcamp.
And Melderon.
Signing out. Peace.
Keep on grinding, baby.
Hey-o!
Oh, and shamans are better than paladins.
No, paladins are better.